Eyes wide open, we see it all. Rise from the shadows, answer the call. Voices together, we take the stage, breaking the silence, turning the page. Stories that matter, truth we write. This is VSL America, in black and white.
Good evening, family, and welcome back to another powerful episode of America in Black and White, where truth meets testimony and where our stories are honored with the dignity they deserve. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight we're diving into the heart of education, culture, and transformation. In a time when our schools are struggling to meet the needs of our children, especially our Black boys, there are leaders who refuse to accept the status quo. Leaders who step into the classroom, into the community, and into the policy arena with one mission: to reimagine what's possible. Tonight, we're joined by one of those leaders, a literary coach, a visionary, a builder of systems that honor culture, identity, and humanity. A man who believes that behavior is not a problem to be punished, but a story to be understood. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we welcome Rodrick C. Johnson, founder of Energized Educator, creator of the transformative 3R method, and a rising voice in education policy. His work is reshaping how schools support students, how teachers feel empowered, and how communities reclaim the brilliance of their youth. This is going to be a conversation about purpose, passion, and the power of culturally responsive leadership. So settle in, because tonight we're talking about the future of education through the lens of a man who's helping to rewrite it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rodrick Johnson.
Hello. Wow.
How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am excellent. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I could pick no better place than on the 100th anniversary of Black History Month to be. There's no other place I will be.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. So before we get into the show, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we start?
First of all, hello, everybody. Greetings. I am the Energized Educator. I coined that phrase because I believe that we are energy. We exist in energy. We exude energy. So anything that I say or anything I do on this podcast, I want you to feel the energy behind it, because energy is never lost. It's just transferred. So come on in, get you a nice little snack, because this is about to be a good ride.
I like that. I'm feeling that energy. What I like to do is, when we start here, I want to go first by, just getting the idea, giving the people an idea as to who Rodrick Johnson is and who Rodrick was before he got to this point. What was the moment you knew when education was your calling?
I knew very early, actually. I knew probably age 6 or 7 because of my experience in the school system. So I was a what you call a bad kid, and I put emphasis because I don't believe children could be good or bad. And so I was mischievous, and I had a lot of things going on, and I didn't really know what was happening. I just knew that I was experiencing life different from other students. And so teachers never taught me the way I needed to be taught, and they never nurtured me the way I needed to be nurtured. And so early on, I realized that I had to be the change I wanted to see. The backstory was I was traversing through foster kid challenges and didn't really know who I was. And so if you can imagine at 6 or 7, there's a lot of things processing in your mind that you can't really control the narrative. And so that was what was happening to me. And so I vowed that from that age that I would eventually become a teacher. And I really started that year tutoring in the neighborhood and really try to understand how to teach because it was just something that needed to be changed. And so I thank God for it because it changed my perspective of life. And now I'm here to serve the students that are just like me, experiencing some of the things to be seen differently.
Growing up, who poured into you and shaped your understanding of learning and leadership?
There were a lot of mothers. And I say that because I think for every young man, there's a lot of women that usher you into adulthood. For me, unfortunately, there was no kind of men around that will usher me into the things. There were more men around to show me example of what I didn't want to be, which was great because we also need those examples. But I've had a series of women every time I go up, and there's too many to name, but just know if you're watching, you know I love you, you know who you are. But I have a series of them in addition to my mother to really exalt me and push me and let me understand like the world is vast and you can look at things through a different lens and always be you when you walk in those spaces so that you can understand how to lift what you've been given by God to lift.
Wow. Rodrick, as you say that, there's that old cliche behind every man, there's a strong woman or a good
Absolutely.
woman. In this case, what is it exactly that these women did for you that's made you this man that you are today?
The most important thing that they did is what we can do for all children and see them for who they are. They didn't want me to check some proverbial box that they created for me. They saw me for who I was and said, you need to exist in your lane. Every time I tried to get into a box, they took the box away. And it's because I'm very eccentric and I'm very energetic and I'm just here. And so they had to tell me like, that's okay. The world needs what you're giving, but don't shrink yourself to conform because you're not meant to be an employee. You are meant to start a movement and have a dream like Martin and rise like Malcolm and change like Bob Marley and all of those things. And we are here to not tell you how to do it, but usher you into it, ask questions, understand the values, understand systems, help you write it out, help you find support and all of those things. So women have been very supportive in my life since I was young, very young, and they helped me get on my journey.
Wow. Your early experiences in school teach you about the needs of Black children.
That's a 2-part answer. The first one, obviously, I didn't get what I needed. I would always get a fare. Okay, I want people to conceptualize this. You are a Black kid with probably different homes. You've been in and out of homes. There's been struggles. There's been good days. And you get to school and they give you this notebook because you need a behavior notebook because you're in by 8, out by 9. And all you get is a fare every day. There's no good. There's no great. It's just fair. And it used to grind my gears. I vowed that as a teacher, I would never give a kid a fare, but also really understand the impacts of culture on Black children, especially those that are in neighborhoods. Black children are brilliant. They're brilliant. They just have to be reminded because it's almost like a mountain that they have to climb in order to get to where they need to see the vantage point, right? They can't get to the top of the mountain to see it. So we have to show it to them and push them up that mountain for one day. They can say, oh, I see it. I can wake up. And that is when the beauty of education shines. And so my goal is to do that for every child I impact. And so I know that Black kids need it because I need it. Mm-hmm. And I still need it.
Just as you say that, and you mentioned the fare, And so now I know that I'm not sure how old you are, but I know when I was in elementary school that I remember the good, the fair, and the
You
I think
remember
it
it?
was the bad or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that was like one of those things that I really never really thought about. But I do remember in taking a report card home, like, why is this fair?
What is this about? Why can't you sit in school and do what you're supposed to do? Exactly. Exactly. Now you understand my struggle.
Yeah, I do. I do. Uh, your upbringing influenced the educator you eventually became.
I think it was the array of schools I went to. In elementary school, I went to over 11 elementary schools, obviously, because I was transitioning. And I think the array of teachers and the teaching style, I was always a qualitative researcher. So I'm a PhD student now, but I've always studied people and I've always studied how they show up. And so obviously I told you I wanted to be an educator since 7. So I would literally take mental notes as to what's happening and start to form
Mhm.
my own opinion and ask questions. A lot of people didn't like me because I asked questions too, but I wanted to really understand this nuance of education. And we know it's vastly different. And I hope we get to that later. But what we didn't understand is that every teacher has a nuance and every teacher has a way that they show up. And so what I realized very early on is that teachers adopt some sort of instructional way about them. And so knowing that, I knew very early on that education needed to happen, but I needed to put this twist on it. I understood children in foster care. I understood children as navigating trauma. I understood children that were without electricity and water and those. I understood what our students needed at the time. So I was in perfect position to do it. There was no other job I could do. And to tell you the truth, I tried to get away from it, right? I was in corporate at 21. I was at Sam's Club and I just finalized a fellowship. And so at the end of the fellowship, obviously your pay goes up and they did the whole song and dance. But I got a call that same day that asked me, did I still want to be a teacher? And of course, that $80,000 is right there. And then school was like, all right, we'll give you 48,000. But you have to put in perspective, I wouldn't have got that call if it wasn't for me. Right? That was the moment where I chose because I mean, I'm a pretty boy, so I'm not gonna be pushing pallets for the rest of my life, right? It's just not gonna happen, right? I like my nails done, but teaching gave me the opportunity to give back to those women and those people that invested in me and also create a new generation of children that weren't fair. They were good.
Wow. Okay, that's what's up. I like that. Is this what you call not just paying it forward, but also contributing to community growth?
Absolutely, because my students can stand 10 toes down on every concept and tell you exactly why they say it. They'll ask questions if they don't understand it. And even if they can't read it, they can conceptualize it. It's not about data with me. It's about experiences with me.
Your commitment to culturally responsive teaching.
Say it one more time.
What personal challenges shaped your commitment to culturally responsive teaching?
Okay, so I shared this on another podcast, and I think you're going to like this too. They laughed at me, but I don't care. So the first day I got hired, again, I got the job. It was 2 days before school started. I was excited, but I didn't get the PD. I didn't get the whole welcome induction ceremony. I didn't get any of that. I got a classroom and was told to fix it. And so the first day of class, children threw crayons at me. Right? I mean, it was like at me. And so I called the principal. I said, excuse me, children are throwing crayons. And she said, okay, what's your next step? That's a classroom managed behavior. And I said, wait a minute. So in my mind, I could have got off the phone, yelled and screamed, of course. You see teachers do it all the time. But then I realized, like, what is it that this child needs from me to make him feel like he has to throw crayons at me? And so I'm not going to tell you what I did, but let's just say that he doesn't throw crayons anymore. But then I realized after I talked to him at that moment, I talked to his mother and I told her what happened. And she said, my son doesn't do things like that. And I said, I know you lied. He was the main one. She said, my son reads books all day and he just does it. And I'm like, he reads books. First grade, by the way. He reads books. So wait a minute. Maybe I'm not seeing, maybe I offended him by doing these letter drills. And what he really needed from me was to understand him so that he could get something more out of this learning situation. Okay. And from then on, we were good. And he actually ended up leading a small group in class while I had other children.
Wow.
First grade.
Oh, see, again, another one of those superstars that we're going to get to know pretty soon.
Absolutely.
When you entered the classroom for the first time, what surprised you most other than the crayon throwing?
That education became a business.
Okay.
It was no longer about learning. It was no longer about deeper development. It became test scores and data and indoctrination that I didn't want to participate in. But at the end of the day, in order to fix a system from the inside, in order to fix the system, you got to fix it from the inside. And so that's what I vow to do. I'm actually dropping a book tomorrow about that.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Teach the Curriculum. So it's for my viral post that I did on my Instagram called Teach the Curriculum. There's now a book to go with that post because it's important that we see it, we start to see the themes, and as a collective, we start to work from the inside out to fix it.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about this book and its main influences.
Yes. So the first chapter is about just understanding the whole play field where we are. The second chapter is about really talking about the 21st century learner, kind of what you were alluding to. The third chapter is all about bias and indoctrination, which is really, I call it the neoliberalism chapter, because that's what we're experiencing in schools. And for those who don't know what that term means, it's basically taking a system into a business system, right? And putting business economics where they don't belong. That's how I explain it. And so for school, you may have walked into a school building and you might have saw learning, but then you look to your right and you see all these data charts creating competition with classes when it doesn't need to be that way. Teaching should be about learning and understanding what children need, not about hitting test scores and metrics and indoctrinating them into a system that we didn't build as educators. And so the fourth chapter is about the teach framework that I created. And then the other chapters are just a summation of the rest of the book.
So what kept you grounded during the difficult early years of teaching?
Prayer. Prayer and my people that I taught with. I'm blessed to teach. Well, I'm blessed to coach now the lady I started teaching with. So she works with me again 10 years later, right? And so what kept me grounded was her willingness to support me in that moment. I don't think people realize, but first year teachers, we are like babies. We need to be fed, every couple of hours. We need to really understand. We need somebody to unpack with. And this lady, she took me on, and I don't even think she knew what she was doing for me, but she took me on as if I was her equal and not necessarily somebody that wasn't teaching as long as she was. And so I will forever be grateful of Jill Morgan because she took care of me, and now I'm able to support her as a coach.
How did your identity as a Black man influence your approach to teaching and leadership?
Funny thing about that is I don't think people realize that not even just a Black man, but the features of a Black man sometimes is intimidating. For example, I had a beard when I first started, right? And so I yelled at a student. I know, every teacher don't want to admit it, but I did. I yelled at a student and lost it. And so the student began to cry. And I'm like, what are you, I'm thinking to myself, what are you crying for, right? And so the lady had to say, she said, listen, young man, you don't realize they're 6. To them, you're a giant and you have a beard, which is scary. And so that's one instant where I had to think about how I showed up. And the next instance is the whole pet to threat thing. And so for me, I'm very kind, I'm very joyful, I'm very eccentric, I'm very great, but I'm very good at what I do, right? And everybody doesn't see the A to the B. They just see me get it done. And so when you get into the nuances of the work, some people start to see how I blend things from retail, things that I got from corporate, leadership lessons that I got from, schools, pedagogy that I got from my teachers back when I was in 5th grade. They start to see how I blend it, and that becomes that threat because you start to get intimidated because I'm doing something that's foreign, but it's working, and you don't know why it's working. And so as a Black man showing up, you have to also realize that you already have a precedence before you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to either condense myself or shine brightly. And, I'm going to shine. And if it's too bright, just get you some glasses because I'm going to keep moving.
You know what? You have got to be a joy to your students and to your coworkers because I can tell you the energy that you exude is it's electrifying and it is to die for.
Thank
So
you.
I hope you never change that.
Thank you
I
so
hope you
much.
never change that. What is one childhood memory that still guides your work today?
I think church. Hey. I don't know. You want me to go more, or does your audience understand what that means? Because we can go hymns if you want. I can pull out that Baptist hymnal if you want to.
Okay.
No, but really, like, when I was in foster care, I was in church like clockwork. And this is what I miss children having. That vacation Bible school, that Saturday school, that Sunday school, that singing on that choir, knowing the hymns back and forth, pastor checking on you, making sure your school done. You get rewards if you do good in school, not tangible rewards, but you might get to do that solo one church. Like church really shaped me because it taught me the rules and guides of life. And I'm not saying church in terms of religion because I know some people have varying religions. I'm saying church in terms of the microcosm of leadership that was abundant at that time, following some sort of deity at the end to understand how to navigate life and knowing that if you ever have a problem, you got one person for sure that you can call on that won't judge you, that will never leave you and never forsake you. And I still call on them.
This mean to you at this stage of your journey?
Purpose to me is revolution. We got to change. Education is going further and further down. And of course, we didn't create the system. Let's just be clear. We just created the system. Now, I want that to sink into somebody that's looking like, wait, that don't make sense. No. We didn't create the system. We just created the system. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, I can't help you. You don't understand.
Yeah. But Rodrick, I think though, just as you made that statement, I think that's one of the things that, I'm hoping that we can, just eventually, starting today going forward, that, we actually have people to understand what it means to build a system. Because I honestly believe that if we want to actually make this thing right the way it's supposed to, we need to operate within a system within this system in order for it to completely come out the way it should be.
And the reason why we have the system we have, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but Brown versus Boyd was not about us, right?
Exactly.
We didn't need separate, but let's be clear, and I don't speak for every Black person. I'm going to speak for the Black people that follow me. We did not need separate but equal. We were fine. and I don't want to say it with a smile and the note, but we were fine. Okay, we had used textbooks. That's fine. Okay, we had horrible bit. That's fine. Good teaching does not exist in an amazing building. Good teaching exists when there's a passing of knowledge. And let me tell you one thing, you can't put all of our stories in a textbook, which is why a lot of people don't know that the first doctorate started at Timbuktu.
Right.
But I'm not gonna
It's Black History Month.
I just want to make sure we understood what we. I just want to make sure everybody was aware of where we were and who you talking to. I'm not talking to you as a black man that don't know his origin. I'm talking to you as a man that's on a movement to create a new origin for education. That's what we're doing here.
That's a perfect transition, because I actually want to go to a whole lot more in depth, talk about your work as an educator.
Yes.
What did you learn during your 6 years in the classroom that no textbook could ever teach?
I learned children. I want people to understand, in order to be an educator, you have to know children. Yeah, you don't have to like them, but you have to respect them, and you have to respect where they are. And really what I learned was how to put yourself in their shoes to really understand what's happening, because we can teach all day. We can talk all day. We can pontificate with the best of them. But if we never change and support that knowledge, for example, I use narratives in classroom, just like I'm talking to you. I talk to my children the same way. And I tell them stories, because guess what? Humans are wired to receive stories, especially African-American people, because that's all we know. Which is why they want to take away stuff, because our stories are embedded in it. That statue ain't just a statue, but you think it's a statue. But it's not a statue, it's a story. And so when I teach in a story, because that's what I do. I'm an author. I got a mean pen. So, I teach that way. So I really learned children, and I really learned how adults treat children, which is why I want them to see children differently. I want them to understand that children and compliance don't mix.
Wow.
Children and understanding mix. Conceptual awareness mix. Art and children mix. But children and compliance don't mix. Just because they sat down in your class does not mean they learned something.
Why do you believe so many students feel disconnected from traditional school culture?
Because traditional school culture don't appreciate them. We don't tell our kids they're brilliant no more. We tell them sit down and be quiet for 30 minutes, and then we might give them a treat. We incentivize children. We get them chips and Takis and tell them they did a good job. I'm just I don't want to lie to you, sir. I'm just telling you what happens, My nephew came home one day. We got Takis for reading on our exam. Okay. So again, we incentivize children, we bribe them, and we wonder why systems are trying to bribe us as teachers. We'll give you a stipend to come to that PD, something I'm supposed to have anyway. But that's another episode. That's when I get to that part of my doctoral research where I can really get in this thing and get in my bag a little bit.
Oh, most definitely. What are the biggest misconceptions about student behavior in urban schools?
The biggest misconception is that students behave that way because they want to. Students are emotional beings with real heartbeats, with real challenges. And right now, they're experiencing reactions to a vast amount of information that 20th century learners didn't have. 19th centuries and all 19th century, I'm sorry, not centuries. I sound like somebody person in church. 19th century learners didn't have. And so when we say children are not doing what they're supposed to do, well, should they? Should we continue to be teaching without technology? Should we continue to be standing at board lecturing children's for what? How many field trips have those students went on? How many exploratory activities have they had? What ways have you deepened knowledge for them? But yet we still blame children for adults not teaching what they should know to teach. You know why we blame them? Because our adults are not prepared to teach oftentimes. They go to a quick program that gives them a couple weeks, and then they come in a classroom and they become teachers, and some are successful and some are not. But yet and still, they are in front of our children, and our children see it all.
I think the thing that, that point that you're making right there, that's one that I ask a lot because I really don't understand how that works. Because if the teacher's not qualified, but you're only teaching to pass a test, are there any standards?
My friend, you are figuring out the conundrum on this interview. You are understanding. You see how I'm imparting knowledge and you breaking it down like that. That's the point. And that's good teaching. See, you can teach anywhere. Now there's some flaws, and let me just explain to you a little bit. There are standards of teaching that came from No Child Left Behind, a neoliberal policy that wanted schools normed because No Child Left Behind said all children should learn all the same thing at the same time, and the student data will show it. Standardized testing, that's where that all comes from. So when you think of that notion, are students really learning, or are students learning a standard to pass a test? And so we want them to sit down and be quiet because we want them to pass the test, when realistically we should have them learn how to adapt to different cultures, so that not only can they pass the test, but they can tell the next person how to pass the test and understand the conceptual awareness that they're learning about.
Exactly. um, to keep your talent for engaging students who were often labeled difficult?
Oh, I first thing I do, I love all. Give me all of them. Okay, give me every quote unquote broken child. Give them to me, because what you have to do with this child is you have to first of all, start with respect. I have a 3R framework: respect, reflect, re-engage. Start with respect. I respect your struggle right now. Don't you dare tell me that you're okay if you're not okay. You tell me what's going on, and we'll fix it. And we understand. That's the first thing. Respect. No books, no academic. I need to know what's going on. After we do that, we do a reflection. Understand, what's going on. Let me usher you in my space. You usher me in your space. I had a student that did this. He came first day. I already had a classroom protocol. He came in and he didn't want to do our classroom norm where we walked in the hallway. I think we put 2 fingers up or something like that. He said it was childish. I mean, babe, you're in 3rd grade. It is a bit childish. Okay. But, okay, so what, out of respect, I said, well, what is it that you would want to do? I mean, I can support the line and I can make sure that nobody get in front of us, and I can watch and make sure we get from point A to point B. I'm just not doing that. At that moment, what is more important? And so I said, okay, well, let me tell you, you are the line supporter. Nobody breaks the line. Nobody gets behind you. You are to make sure that they get where they need to go, and you are the #1 safety agent. You know what he did? He made sure all them babies got to that class. Mm-hmm. Everybody else, that's their thing. Everybody has their thing. But sometimes we get in fight with kids. They kids. You got to show them how to navigate that. Okay, you don't want to do it. In life, you don't have to do everything. But you have to figure out how you are going to figure out how to get where you need to go. That's the reflection piece. I respected you. I reflected with you. And now I'm going to re-engage you. Get in the back of that line and handle your business.
You go.
Because then sometimes you got to put a little oomph. And then guess what? And I'm going to pay you. Because I paid my children. Of course, it was fake money, and we did little rewards and stuff like dojo and stuff. But what it was they saw the value in actions. They also got paid for chores at home. Yes, they did. That was their social studies. Sweep them steps for mama, and if mama tell me you swept them steps, you getting 10 points. Because what I did do is I made sure that they had elaborate events. Wow. And so if you weren't in the top tier, which was all my students, but if you weren't in the top tier, you didn't come to the elaborate event, because I didn't do pizza and cut it 4 ways for kids. No. Order them 10 boxes of pizzas and for 30 kids. They be all right. Like those things. I had an elaborate event because I had a community that said, Rod, what do you need? I need this food catered for my kids so they can see what it looks like to do these things. And we're going to serve them. In principle, I need you to come serve my kids. So anyway, those are the things I did using my framework. And when I developed this framework, I realized that it worked for kids like me. Again, going back to my childhood, and it worked for kids that needed support.
love that creativity. What made you think to bring this kind of creativity to the classroom, and what did you expect to get from that?
Yeah, I was just tired of the whole teach, stand in front of the class. I was just over it. And so I wanted to figure out a way to prove people wrong. Like, this could not be the only way to teach. Oh my, if this is the only way to teach, I quit. And so, like, I was also tired. Like, I was over it. Like, my kids were not doing the things I needed to do. Of course, great data, great, but they weren't transferring the respect they had for me to other classes. And so I kept getting complaints. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so I realized that they needed transferable habits of mine as opposed to just habits.
Well, I got a couple of comments here in the chat. Let me bring them across the screen,
Uh-oh,
and you're more
uh-oh.
than welcome to to respond to them. As far as what we were talking about with education, Mr. Dodd just has a yes with the prayer hands. And then Mr. Dodd says, you helped Black kids learn how to read too. When it gets to that point and talking about helping Black kids how to read, do you want to elaborate more on that?
You just got to teach them that reading is a systematic situation. And we've moved from telling our stories early to reading them on a page. And you teach them the history. Reading is new, writing is also new, right? We were storytellers. And when you tell them those things, you also tell them the oppression of a book, right? Like, I made this book so that you can have it. So what you going to do with it? Mm-hmm. And when you had those conversations with kids, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What happened? They did what? Oh no, Mr. Johnson, come on, what we doing? And it just happens. I don't know. Every kid, again, this is not 100%. I'm not selling you on no one fix all plan that'll cost $1 million and you give me and I take your money and run with it. That ain't what is happening. But what I'm saying is this: when you incite a conversation within a child, you never know what mountain that's gonna move. And then they go home and do it. I had a kid that said he came to school, he was upset. And, my respect reflect. I'm like, okay, cool, but it's 8 o'clock. Like, why are we mad? And his mother was like, I don't know what's wrong with him. All I said was one thing this morning, and he's been upset ever since. I said, okay. And so apparently they were arguing because his mother said she taught him how to read. Uh-huh. And he said, no, you didn't. Mr. Johnson taught me how to read. And I'm like, ma'am, I said, you respect your mother and she taught you how to read because she called me to be your teacher. Yeah. And he was like, okay.
John is also saying that was powerful about to build a system.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to build a system right now. I don't know what people are seeing, but people are folding left and right. So we got to build our own systems, and system of oppressions are not welcome here.
So what does culturally responsive behavior management look like in practice?
Honoring the child with respect, having them rethink about their decisions, and not in a weird way say, what happened, Johnny? Okay, now what did you do? No, like, have a conversation with the child. Like, at this moment, you slapped him, and what were you thinking when you slapped him? Right? Or at this moment, you stormed close to the door because you didn't leave my classroom, but you stood by the door, acting like you was about to walk out. But what happened? What made you feel uncomfortable at the moment to go to anger? There's so many more emotions you could have had. And sometimes exposing children to all the emotions they could have is really good for them because all they know is anger. Right? Black people been angry for years. Mm-hmm. So all we know is anger. And so I'm like, are you embarrassed? Are you sad? Are you getting too much shine? What's happening? And really digging deep to understanding. That's culturally appropriate. Because I don't want you to sit in a row and tell me what I told you. That doesn't do anything for me because you're going to be my doctor one day. I need you to know what you know so that if I got the gout, you can help me out.
You gotta walk, right?
I'm just saying. I need to know if I got the okay. And I try to keep it real because I tell kids, I love you, but if I go to the doctor and I see you walking in and I know you couldn't do math, we gonna have to have some. You not injecting me with no. You're not even giving me an IV. No, love you, but no.
Teachers shift from punitive discipline to restorative approaches.
You said why should they?
No, how?
Oh, easy. Use the 3R method. That's all. Respect, reflect, re-engage. I got a whole little 1-2 workout on you. Just let me know and I'll send it to you. But let me just preface this. You have to understand that children are brilliant before you use this method. You can't just go and use this method thinking it's going to fix children, because if you're trying to fix children, you've already failed. You're trying to understand what is moving children to do the things that they do and why it matters. That is what you're doing. And again, if you do it right, children will start to reflect what you teach them. They watch us all the time, just like I watch my teachers. This is why I know what I know. There's no book, lecture series, text message, carrier pigeon that can tell me about this. I lived it. I know it. And so this might seem very trivial, right? Respect, reflect, re-engage. That sounds random. It might, but try it. I went to a school in Lansing. Never forget. I was consulting. I came in there. I had my nice little outfit on. I was ready. And I sat down and the teacher's like, yeah, I'm not sure about my class right now. Just talking because, I'm listening. I'm always listening. I don't know about my class right now. I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably upstairs on desk and giving that substitute to run for her money. Who? Mrs. Johnson, I'm talking about my class. What they doing? They might be I said, what's your classroom number? She said, no, don't go up there. And then I said, baby, I'm here to help with behavior. Give me that classroom number. I went upstairs and I gave them 3R. And at the end of the day, that substitute came back downstairs and said that was the best they ever behaved for him. So I know it works. And these were high school students. And I walked in there and the first thing I said to them, I said, do you see yourself reflected in that textbook? No. I said, well, who gonna write the story? Well, who gonna write it? You are. So I need you to understand what they're telling you now so that in 20 years, your kid can read about you.
There you go.
And not Shakespeare. No shade to Shakespeare. I'm pretty sure that for some people, he's amazing. But me and Shakespeare don't share the same we don't grow up the same way here. We might be a little off, I'll take that, Shakespeare. But in terms of what stories we tell, I don't think I can tell Shakespeare stories and get away with it. I don't know. Maybe. But what I did in them, and I also told them, I said, you guys are 9th graders. You know y'all run this school, right? No, the seniors run the school. I said, who gonna be here longer? They were like, oh, I never thought about that. I said, I'm from Baltimore, and I don't know y'all. And this is what y'all show me, and y'all gonna write books and make all this millions of dollars. And they're like, oh, okay, because I respected them. I told them to reflect on their actions, think about what's happening and what y'all showing this man. Now the substitute is over there like, yeah, what is, and then we reinstated, we re-engaged them, and they did their work and they moved on.
Wow. Oh, see, we definitely have to talk about your system because we need to make sure that we get this out for folk to actually understand how that really works and all the good things that are in it.
Yeah, and I think more than people, and this is why I consult. And I consult myself out of a job. So I'm not that consultant that's going to keep you on the line for 20 weeks and tell you, I don't have time for all that. I'm going to give you what you need. I'm going to solve your problem, and I'm going to bid you farewell, and you go help somebody else. That's what I do, because I think it's important that in a world that is so focused around the I, that the we don't get connected. And I don't like to do half stuff. I know you heard that before. I don't do the halfy. So like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so I have to conceptualize things in my mind because I'm not thinking about the now. I'm thinking about 10 years later, how this looks in this continuum of understanding. That's how I feel. And so when I help people, I support you in a way where you can do this repeatedly and understandably, that you don't have to call me back, even though I would love you if you do, you know, $1 is $1, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here so that you can do something for children that they've never seen and that you can take credit for.
Yes.
I got my credit. I got my little not my little, but I got my 2 education awards. You know, they cute. They sit on my little mantle. I got them. You know, I didn't do it for them, but I got them. Now, the crazy part is none of them are from my city, but we'll talk about that later.
Definitely. So what is one strategy every teacher should be using, but often isn't?
Narrative storytelling. Send it home. For example, algebra. Let me tell you, everybody should understand algebra. I'm gonna ask you a question real quick, if you don't mind. Have you ever had a moment where you couldn't make ends meet? Right. So kids might have the same thing, or they might not. All algebra is you're in the Burger King drive-thru. Make it easy for you. Burger King drive-thru. You got $5, and the total is 12. And you solving for B. How you gonna make it? That's algebra. That's all it is. Moving numbers around to make things make sense. Right? And so for somebody that hasn't been without, then you can expose them to another conversation. Well, let's say that you forgot your wallet at home and all you have is this amount of money. How are you going to solve it? Well, I might do this. That's all algebra. Numbers and operations. That's all it is. Yes. And so when you have stories like that with children, they're like, wait a minute, hold on, like what? Right? Or you put a new carpet down. Well, you can't just throw a carpet on the floor. You got to figure out where it go. And well, I bought a carpet today, guys. It was 38 times 64. And my apartment is whatever. And then have that conversation. But that narrative storytelling allows students to connect with the concepts. That's all.
We have another comment here. This is from Dr. Harris, JD, and says, Amen.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Don't make me start saying it, because you know what? In my head, all I heard was, oh, man. Sorry, go ahead. You didn't ask for a singer on this show. Let me go ahead.
I'm enjoying this show, and I want to tell you that, you know, the spirit and the light that you do bring, I want you to know that it's definitely contagious and it's much, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Because the authenticity is what we're about here.
Yeah, all that fake stuff, you know, people get on here with notes and stuff. I don't have no notes. I just was like, God willing, he'll ask me nothing I can't answer.
Support teachers who feel overwhelmed by behavior challenges.
I help them find their superpower. Every teacher has a superpower. Every single one. And I help them find it every time. It never, and I don't know how. I have an ability to see people. And for example, the teacher that's really good at filing knows their students the best. Because they see what their students have, right? They can tell you who their students are when, and so their superpower is knowing their students. The problem is they ain't tapped into it. Because if you know what they do, then you know what they need. And so I just expose people to who they are, and they're like, Mr. Johnson, how did you know I did that? And I was like, I don't know, I just watched you. But that's what I do. Like, every teacher has a superpower, or else we would not be teachers. We would probably be working at a bank somewhere. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like, and no shade to the people that work at a bank. You're super too, but teachers just little, you know, we're a little bit better because we have to manage 26 things. Listen, if y'all want to fight me because I don't work at a bank, I apologize. Just don't come up here trying to beat me up. I'm sorry, the banking industry. Good Lord. Now my card's cut off.
In behavior and engagement.
Say it one more time.
What role does literacy play in behavior and engagement.
That starts it off right there. If they can't read, they not about to sit through that lesson. I'm sorry, it just ain't gonna happen like that. And I say that with the most humble sincerity that I can as a literacy coach. If children can't read, they're seldom interested in what you're talking about. Because if they can't read, they can't speak. If they can't read, they can't listen. If they can't read, they can't write. If they can't read, they can't think. If they can't read, they can't make no money. So reading is no longer a regular issue. It's actually an economic issue. Because again, if you can't read, you can't make no money. So your job as a teacher is to ensure that you produce readers and thinkers so that they can do the same thing you're doing or better. Because if they're not reading and you're not exposing them to good reading, that's when the behavior starts. Because now, since I can't think, I'm about to go ahead and be an entertainer. And we got people in the news right now that can't read good, that didn't realize that they got some forgery cards to become a citizen. Oh, I'm sorry. That I apologize. Oh,
You know, as you say, I promise you, for those that are listening, I hope that they can make sense of what you just stated, because that's the unapologetic truth in its best form. Because if you can't read and you can't do these things, especially as you just mentioned that last point, you got a problem, a big problem. It's the most rewarding part of being a literacy coach.
helping teachers find their superpower. It's a little sad though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I hate the fact that I don't get to talk to students every day. Like I would talk to students forever. Like adults, but students, yes. And so the rewarding is again helping teachers develop themselves and claim their superpowers and really advocate for themselves. I don't think teachers do that enough. I'm an advocator. Okay, you're not just gonna tell me what I'm gonna do. I'm a barrier breaker and all of those things. And to create a conglomerate of teachers, oh, that was a big word. Wow. Conglomerate of teachers that can follow me and do the things so that when I become an educational leader, I have people to pull from. That's revolution. That is a revolutionary act. And I don't think people are thinking about that. Like people can see, oh, he's consulting, he's out here doing the work. I am picking my people to walk with me. I want you to understand that March on Washington didn't just spur out of the moment. It was not random at all. It was not random at all. That I have a dream speech is not random and it's not over, right? Just because the event is over doesn't mean it's over, right? But you strategically place your people where they need to be, right? Rustin is taking care of his homeboys and homegirls and whatever they identify as, right? Mahalia Jackson bringing that church in there. Dorothy Height bringing those, sorority women and national collegiate women and all of those things. And then Dr. King is bringing some more to church and delivering that lecture and all of those things. And then the men are leading the wives into the place, yes, protecting them.
Yes.
And so for you not to understand that your movement is movement, and your radical approach to understanding while still remaining excellent and poised, you haven't realized what's happening. You getting that gold card. That's what you're getting. And bamboozled and hoodwinked by somebody that can't even read.
You better go ahead on and tell that truth.
Now, he can make all that money, but he can't read.
So it'll be gone real soon, right?
Well, now, I can't say that he don't got people around him that can read, but he can't read. And so again, and this is good, I tell my children all the time, if you can't read and think and understand, then you have to pay people to do the things Cardi B said that. I didn't know anything about business, so I had to pay 9 people to run my business because I didn't know how to manage my money. How? Oh my gosh, that's not liberating at all. That is entrapment. And so to even think about that notion, if we're not teaching our children to lead, our children, and it's Black History Month, Black children, right? because black is not a bad word, everybody. Just FYI. Black children, if we're not teaching black children how to read, those marches are for nothing.
Wow.
That those movements are for nothing. Our right to vote is for nothing. Our Black America is nothing, which is why people can penetrate it, because what they do is they feed us stuff because we're not reading. Come back with me. We're not reading. We're just grabbing stuff off the shelf because they told us we can have it, when realistically it was our shelf. I was about to
That's
curse.
good. Yes. So, let's transition over to your work as an author and your creator of the 3R method. Because I definitely want to get more in depth into that. What inspired you to create the 3R method?
Schools and children. Simple as that. And those stories, the stories they told me, it was just, it needed to happen. And it's something I ran away from, because being seen is hard. I don't think people understand that being seen is hard. So putting myself out there as an author and 3R method and all of the things that I do is really hard. And so people don't really take a moment to realize what that looks like. So yes, I put it out there. Yes, I love it. Yes, I'm excited, but it's really hard because you're out there for critique, right? Even the book I wrote, the first book I wrote was about my journey in foster care when I was a kid. And when I tell you the support and the love for Joey's story, A Long Way Home, now available on Amazon, the love for that book, it was amazing. And the first person to greenlight my book were my students.
Wow.
They read it. They told me what to change. They told me what to fix. And my first review was from a kid that was, well, no, not a kid, a child that I was helping in school that was going through a situation like I was going through. If that ain't God telling you to move, I don't know what it is. Literally, the first review is still in my office. It's from him. And he was like, this book reminds me of me. And so, my hope is, again, revolutionary acts, right? So now my goal is not to just write the book. Now I want to sell cases to school. Wow. Come and get this case of books because you need it, right? These are the things that go, and it goes with the 3R method hand in hand, because again, if you understand their predicament and where they come from and what they're experiencing, and let's be clear, this can work on a lot of children because every student is existing in a space where their culture is not known unless they are, I don't know, whatever, because I think even white kids get ostracized. So we're all existing in a way. We're all multilingual. We all have an intersectionality. We all have that. But if I can have a book that tells me somebody that went through with a story, then I can go with it. And that's why I wrote that. And so from that, I did the 3R method because I had to go back and like, okay, how did I learn to navigate this? And so that's what I made that whole method.
So why don't you refine the method from ready to learn to RE engage?
So ready to learn to me is a approach that says that I have to be prepared for something. And sometimes you ain't ready, right? And sometimes you just got to get ready just a little bit more. And re-engaging doesn't mean fully, right? Re-engaging means I'm welcoming you back to the space. I probably should have dropped that book too. I have a book on it, but I probably should have dropped it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe just for your community. Who knows? But re-engage really is a reorientation of the space. I feel like we do a great job of suspending children and kicking them out of the space, but we don't do a good job of reorienting them back. So it could be as simply as all right, Charles made a good choice today. Let's welcome him back to his thought. Clap, clap, clap. And it really stems from Taraji P. Henson. She let it slip one time that she was Black. And she said that in a country in Africa, they do this thing where if you do something wrong, they put you in the middle of the circle and then they yell back all the great things that you did.
Oh, wow.
And so that's really where it comes from. It's like, can you imagine, I don't know, knock something off. I don't know. But can you imagine standing in a circle and people tell you all the wonderful things that you did?
Oof, I ain't trying to be funny, but I would love to hear that.
I'm trying to tell you. I almost want to knock something over to see if I can get some of that. Sorry.
Well, as you think about that, what are some of the things that some of the educators that are watching today? What are some tidbits or some knowledge or that you can actually give to them at this point that they could probably use as a helpful tip?
Don't you dare argue with somebody less your age.
Ooh.
And number two, what he did yesterday or she did yesterday, she don't remember the next day. and they might remember, but I'll give you an example. So one of my teachers was battling with a child that called them the B word. And so my first question was, were you acting like one? And I know for some people that's like, whoa, Rod, but I needed to know, like, why in his mind did he assert this persona on you? And so she was taken back, like, no, all I did was tell him to sit down and be quiet. I said, well, thank God he said it, not me. But no, I was just like, sometimes we have to see how we show up. And sometimes we are exactly what students call us. But we have to also get out of the mindset these students aren't thinkers. If you told me that this is a safe space and I'm telling you what I'm feeling, now you're going to condemn me for telling you exactly what I'm feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Pick one. Either you want a safe space or you want compliance. And that's the gospel truth for educators. What do you want? Because whatever you want, you're going to get, because kids conform. And I hate saying that, but even adults conform. But what do you want them to conform as a result of? Right. And so that's the biggest thing. Stop arguing with children, because you're never going to win. Your principal ain't taking your side, so don't even try it. Right? And arguing with children only says that they're my equal. And I'm not saying that children are your subordinates, but I will say that you're older. And you have to model what that looks like. Don't argue with parents in front of children. Send them away. Because yes, I did take your cell phone. And because cell phones are not in school, that's not my policy, it's a district policy. You have a problem with the policy, go to the Board of Education. You figure that out. And then lastly, just again, take it with a grain of salt when a child says something to you that you feel is a little out the way. I'm not saying take disrespect, and I'm not saying take it lightly, but you might want to reflect before you say, this child meant to do this to you.
Yeah. What makes the 3R method different from traditional behavior systems?
It don't assume that the child is wrong, but it also doesn't assume that the child is right. It just assumes that the child has a heartbeat. And I think some systems don't even realize, like, we are dealing with children that have a nuance and a vast array of emotions and feelings, and yet we condemn them to a checkoff sheet. Ill.
A whole checkoff sheet.
A whole checkoff. Was he quiet? Was he good or bad or fair?
Overall fair. My God. Students respond when they realize the system is built to empower them.
They love it, and they respect you more. My students right now, they tell, I found you on TikTok and you act just like you act in school on TikTok. I'm like, I gotta block you now, baby. But thank you. Right? But they want to be like you. They want to emulate you. They want to act like you. And then if you watch and you wait long enough, children will tell you what they learned from you. So I had children in my last formal observation as a teacher. They had an argument, and it was a bad argument, but they were arguing with textbooks. All I asked was, should sharks be used for cancer research? And they had a full-out argument about, on page whatever, they said that sharks are dying because we're using them for cancer research. But on the other page, it said, well, sharks are needed because we need to do this. And then on the other page, like, they're literally with books in their hand going, because see... Now, of course, they said some choice words, you dumb, you stupid. Of course, they're kids. No, because on this, but they're arguing about a book.
Reading.
And you know what I did? I sat at my desk and let them finish. And they argued respectfully, just like I do with their parents. Argue respectfully. So
What impact have you seen when schools fully embrace your framework?
Less behavior referrals and more teachers understanding how children show up. It's that simple. And again, I don't get invited back because it works. I'm gonna tell you that I've never been invited back to a school I worked at.
Oh man.
They didn't need me anymore. And that's the game. Like I'm not, again, I want to make sure I preface that I'm not the person that wants to stick around for a long time. I want to help you and I want you to implement your own systems. 3R will work for you, but every way that you implement it is a different way. I'm just here to teach you the basics. And as educators, we don't do that. We want to give you the whole playing field. That's not education. That's coercion.
Oh, can
Buy
you
my system for a couple of dollars. For what? To say that you spent money on trying to solve a problem, or do you want somebody to show up and help you really solve your problem with the children you see? Not these children that's on this video sitting down being quiet because we paid them to do so. But that's another conversation.
What do you hope educators take away from your writing and training materials?
I hope that's a really good question. I just hope that they see kids differently, and I hope that they see their self in the ecosystem differently, and I hope that they get away from the oppressive way that we teach and really encourage themselves to be greater pupils and support a lifeline of thinkers and learners and leaders. That's what I hope they get away. Also, join my whatever movement this is called, right? Because and one day we're gonna have to revolutionize how we do things, and I already know how it's gonna start.
Okay. Well, I will say this. It sounds like with that movement from you, that it's already thought provocative and it's already informative. So all you have to do is execute the plan and have everything come to shape.
The best thing they can do is stop this doctorate. Because when I get this doctorate from the national treasure, Morgan State University, it's time to walk.
There you go. There you go. How do you balance research, practice, and creativity when developing new tools?
So I rely on research for the backstory, but I'm not like a robot. Like, okay, yeah, I got the research, but I'm not regurgitating that to you. I'm gonna tell you my spin because my spin better than that spin. So, right. And so I leverage it all to really understand like the research is the research. I can't stop that. But the creativity lies in the storytelling and understanding how to wove that beautiful bow of understanding for you still to have enough breadcrumbs to come to your own understanding. Like, I don't think people realize leaving breadcrumbs is an act of support. Like, I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to come to your own. That's what learning is. I want you to come into your own understanding. So yeah.
What's next for the 3R method as you continue to expand your work?
The teach method now. So again, like I said, I'm dropping another book called Teach the Curriculum. And so the 3R method is embedded now in my teach method that I'm exposing people to, because I did a post called Teach the Curriculum. It got 1 million views, but the comments were just like, it was so much going on. And so I wanted to really expose people to what is happening in educational systems. And so using those two will get you where you need to go. Now my goal is to get out there to kind of like work the streets. This is part 1, by the way. You're the first person I came to. This is the first time I'm telling everybody about everything I'm doing. And so again, walking through this way allows me to propel and reach more people.
So let's transition over to your community outreach and impact.
Okay.
Why is community engagement essential for school transformation?
Because schools are community and we built it. So our community matters. And when we talk about communities, we're not talking about how we look at people in classism and systems of that nature. We're talking about how we actually support people that are around the schools. Because when we're not at the schools to teach, those are the people that's governing the school. And so community cleaning up, feeding the homeless, or feeding those that just need a meal, supporting, being around. I have a lot of mentees because I believe in building millionaires. I mean, it just is what it is. And then also, I'm in 2 organizations. I am a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm also a Prince Hart Freemason. And so, what we do is we make sure we instill that support in communities and show little Black men what they can do once they finally reach adulthood and understand who they are and whose they are and where they actually come from.
So, what have you learned from families and community members that schools often overlook?
What children actually need, and really what drives the community. Every community is different. Every school community is different. And so the first thing you do, in my opinion, is you survey the land and understand who the natives are. And when you understand who the natives are, you understand how to appease the natives and make sure they're good. Not for a hostile takeover like the first Thanksgiving, but the actual way of supporting and nurturing the community, adding to it. Okay, what do y'all need? Y'all need better thinkers. Okay, good. We can fix that. Y'all need artists. Okay, let's do it. Y'all need this, so that we can build every community up so it can be strong, because we're better when we're together.
Yes, yes, yes. How do you build trust in communities that have been historically underserved?
That's all me. I just tell them my story.
Mhm.
I'm not perfect. You know, I might look nice, I might dress a little good, but I'm not perfect. And no one on this earth is perfect. Right? I still make mistakes. And I intentionally sometimes make mistakes so that people can see it, because people don't always see you for when you're doing right. Sometimes they see you for the smallest mistake, but they still see you. And so I tell my children all the time, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. That's your business. And guess what? If they want to comment and give you some feedback, that's their business. But you don't have to take everybody's criticism.
What role should schools play in healing trauma within urban communities?
To be honest, if schools wanted to do it, they would.
But see, that's the thing though, because when you say that, I definitely understand that point. But again, I go back to what I think about is I think about the system itself, where the system is failing, because the system is failing, that particular schools are allowed to only reach out to particular communities. And so I don't know, I just go back to this. This is just my understanding. So tell me if I'm wrong or not, but how do we do that?
We have to admit that we've been indoctrinated, and we have to flee the systems that indoctrinated us. And once we do that, then we can start to rebuild and re-understand. We can respect what happened, we can reflect on it, and we can re-engage into another system. See what I did there?
Yes, the 3 R's.
But it's important, right? Because it works everywhere. But that's what I'm trying to tell people. It works everywhere. But again, the only way that you can do that is if you think different. That's the biggest piece. And so right now, in this day, on today, the Black Day of February, I don't even know what day it is, 2nd.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready.
Your work remains grounded in the lived experiences of students.
I talk to students.
Mhm.
I talk and ask them, like, is this okay? Like, are you good with this? Or like, and also I'm in the classroom at least 2 hours a day, every day. So I'm not just that one consultant that's outside the window looking at teachers. No, I'm in the classroom, and I teach 2 hours a day. So just to set the record straight, I'm still teaching and supporting teachers and students, because that is my responsibility.
When I was reading your biography, and in thinking about that part of you actually training and teaching teachers nationally.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, how did it get to that point, and what is it that you had done that granted you all of this wonderful world?
Okay, this is great, because this is my origin story.
Mhm.
So What had happened is our city adopted a new curriculum. And so I'm not a complainer. I'm just a figure outer, if that's a concept. Anyway, and so I said, how in the world am I going to teach this curriculum? This is too heavy. I don't understand. Something's happening. Boom, bam, all these excuses. Everybody's making excuses. I mean, if I had a quarter for every excuses, I probably would be too rich to even teach anymore. And so something flashed across my screen. We need facilitators. We need facilitators. I'm like, what is facilitating for? We need facilitators to help support teachers in learning the curriculum, the same curriculum. I said, wait a minute, hold on, Jesus. Hold on. Blessed assurance. And so I said, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. And it was COVID, so I was home. So I applied. And of course, I mean, come on. I got the job. And so we went through training. And next thing you know, we went to do our job. And so I was training people in random cities. And the next thing you know, I'm getting booked double time, triple time. And so I'm in a new place every day, virtually, of course. I'm in a new place every day. And then something was like, Ron, you could do this by yourself. And so I did that. I taught and I traveled and I just bounced. And my biggest accomplishment with that company is that obviously I learned how to do professional development, even though I know how to do it, but I knew how to facilitate it in a way that teachers can understand it. Secondly, I led a group in Los Angeles with the implementation where they did like a 6-week situation with me and they improved. And then I went to Michigan and I went to that school and they improved. And so I just started rolling ever since. And consequently after that, when I went for my literacy coach interview, when I sat down, they said, oh, we know you. You the guy that does the wit and wisdom, right? You do that all that. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And so even in the COVID, they did a report on me. They did a knowledge tour. And they came to my classroom and they said, Mr. Johnson, how are your students? I said, I don't have students. Well, what do you have? I said, I have experts. I have doctoral students in my class. And of course, you have to say that because I believed it. Don't get me wrong. But doing virtual, you got to up the ante. Because, yeah, okay, you're receiving instruction, but you're actually really, really delving into instruction because I'm not there to keep you on pace. And I didn't have any problem. No scary stories, no problems. All my first graders came in when they were supposed to and left when they were supposed to. I had no problems. So those are the things that helped me kind of like create this energized educator piece of me. And I never knew that I can help teachers. I always knew I can help kids, but I never knew I could help teachers. And so when I started doing that and people started saying your sessions were amazing and I learned the curriculum because of you and I learned this because of you and the pedagogy, I was like, well, I'm sold. This is my life.
So we discussed Black history in our initial discussion, and I asked you who were the most influential persons in your life and career in Black history. You told me Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Bob Marley, and Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, they right there.
Can you tell us how has Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. shaped your understanding of leadership and justice?
He was a quiet radical. And so I just learned that about him, which I love. Like everybody think Martin Luther King was very like, I have a dream, turn the other cheek. And he was on the surface, but he was all right with me. That's all I can say. Okay. Okay. That's all I can say. But he was amazing. And for what he did for our community. Some choices I didn't like, but that's none of my business. But I love the radical nature of him. And I love how he was able to position people to do what he needed to do.
From Malcolm X influenced your approach to culturally responsive teaching?
Malcolm made sure that his people got what they needed. And that's what I do. And if I got to flip a table to do it, I'm going to flip a table to do it. That's but I really also adore the fact that he was very knowledgeable in what he spoke. And he was able to, again, lead a movement of people and position them in a way that they can make radical change and people can see him. He was a little more radical than King, but you know who he was and you know what he was for.
And how has Bob Marley's message of unity and liberation informed your work with youth?
Everything is with love. One love. And it's important for us to remember that, because as a community, we are getting divided by stupid stuff, right? And then people are even calling on us. Excuse me, real quick. People are calling on us because they didn't side with us. And because of the love we have for our community, you see what you missed. That's that Nelson Mandela piece. I'm sorry, I went in here, but that's Nelson talking.
Faithful.
Huh?
That's faithful.
Yeah.
That's faithful. You know, so I think they understand now. What does Nelson Mandela's what does Nelson Mandela teach you about resilience and systemic change?
It doesn't happen overnight. You know how people say Rome wasn't built in a day? I hate that. I really do. But like, what you looking for is going to take sacrifice and it's going to take time. Flowers don't grow in a minute. And I don't think people realize the seeds that will water. Like, people see 1 or 2 seeds, but I don't think you really understand how deep those seeds go. And all 4 of those people, because they did something so simple, but made it so elegant. And they probably wouldn't like this word, but I'm going to say elegant, because it really takes a strong mind to say, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to pick that way. I'm going to carve a new way and create a group of people that are going to support me to do those things. And so all 4 of them people exist in certain times for me. Like, as a strategic planning, that's Nelson, right? When I come and tear something up, that's Malcolm, right? When I want to rationalize and have a conversation and really understand, that's Martin. And so really think, and then of course, I'm always Sing Your Way with Love, and that's Bob Marley. So, and that was a picture that somebody gave me a couple years ago, and told me, like, this is you. These are all units. It sits cross. So just in case I need a reminder, I just look and be like, okay, I got you. And yeah, so that's me. That's what I love.
So how does these 4 icons collectively shape your philosophy as an educator?
It allows me to be an intersection of all of them at once. And I think that's a powerful way for any Black man to be, especially right now.
Yes. What teachings do you find yourself returning to most often?
Which teachings I return to?
Yes.
The Bible.
One of theirs.
Because, see, let me tell y'all something, okay? You can't change how you was brought up, okay?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just got to go back and read some stuff just to make sure, like, what? Like, what happened here? And so also understand that allegory is not written to be taken literal. And so, yes, the stories are the stories and things happen, but you got to think, why is it that this was chosen? For what? For when? For how? And those are things I like to ask myself. Like, is the book of Job me? Right? Like, am I having a joke? Like, you see, like, or is this really our stuff that was taken away? Like, those are the things so I go and look at that for introspection and to understand, like, what is the narrative of life? And what is the understanding of being? Because there are people that will die with this in their hand. I don't know if you ever seen a movie. I can't remember the movie. But basically, it was a movie where they eliminated the Bible from the world and people were doing it on the black market. Like, I got a Bible, right? So it was just important to have. So that's what I go to. I go to the Bible.
So you incorporate their influence into your work and teachers with teachers and students, shall I say?
How do I incorporate it?
How you incorporate the works of your four most inspirational people with your work with teachers and students?
The best way I can say is when I give professional development, they're all there. There's a conversation piece, there's a reflection piece, there's a radical piece where you have to think within yourself, like, am I doing something I was supposed to do? And then there's a send away that says, like, please don't go away from this. This is something that you need. Let me show you how to receive love. Let me show you how to unify and nurture your potential.
What responsibility do you feel as a Black educator carrying their legacy forward?
I feel all of it. I gotta do no one can do what I do. So I gotta do what I do well so that people can do something like what I do behind me.
And you help students see themselves in the lineage of these leaders.
Teach them how to read.
What does Black history mean to you personally, and how does it guide your mission?
Black history is America. We built it.
Mhm.
I mean, it just is what it is. Like, this is our country. Like, and I'm not saying it like ours as in citizens. No, this is our country. Black people built it. Just, all of your major inventions that actually matter, Black people made, right? Go to the movies, you watch it in 3D. Black people made that. The microwaves we like, even popcorn. I mean, come on. The list goes on and on. Your stoplight. I mean, come on. And those that we didn't get credit for, we probably still made it. So, I mean, without America, without Black, there is no America.
In closing, what would you like to leave for our audience? Some words of wisdom and encouragement, how they could connect with you via your social media platforms, how they can connect with you on your website, how they can get your books and your book links. Tell us some of those things, please.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Energize Educator on Instagram, Energize EDU on Twitter. If you're looking for me on LinkedIn, my name is Rodrick Johnson. Facebook, my name is Rodrick Johnson, Rodrick. If you're looking for my website, www.energizededucator.com. If you want to email me, I email you back, rjohnson@energizededucator.com. If you're looking for the links to my books, they are on my website and they are also on my Instagram. If you want my children's book, go to joeystory.com. If you want to order a case of books, email me at rjohnson@energizededucator.com. I would love to set that up for you so that 60 children, I sell them in cases of 60, so that 60 children can experience the wonderful book. If you want me to come and sign them for you, I do that too. And so I just look forward to this network that I'm creating, this network that I'm enhancing, and this joy that I'm bringing with a little bit of magic dust after I leave to make sure that our world is just a little more educated and safe.
So is that your words of wisdom and encouragement for the audience?
Sorry, word of wisdom. Sorry, I was going back to. Okay, so my word of wisdom is this: education is not an isolated system. We have to unify. We have to do things that will produce support for our children, and we have to do it now. There is no later. It's now. And so if you want to do anything for a child and you want to support a child, teach them how to read.
Well, I like to say this to you before I close, and that is I more than appreciate your being here. You're sharing your wisdom and knowledge and systems that you have created that have actually made an impact and some changes within the educational community, which I think are very, very important. And I say education right now, and its importance is because of the attack on education from the political perspective.
Oh, yes.
And it's one of those things that, we already know how the system was built, as we mentioned earlier. And we know that it was built with intention to exclude. But despite all of the intentions of exclusion, people that look like you and I have still found a way to maneuver and get our way through this and make that system work. And as we continue to make it work, they continue to extend the goalposts to ensure that we do not score.
That's right.
And so, that's really an appreciative thing. And that is why, for one, I hope to make sure that we can get you back on the show. Because, as this is going on, especially for this wonderful year here of 2026, we've got to make these strides, and we definitely have to do a whole lot to build all these communities across the country.
Absolutely.
And so, in closing, Rodrick, tonight you reminded us that education is not just about academics, it's about identity, humanity, and liberation. You've shown us that when we honor culture, when we listen to our students, and when we equip teachers with the tools they deserve, we don't just change classrooms, we change lives.
Yeah.
Your journey from teacher to coach to policy advocate is a testament to what happens when purpose meets preparation. And your commitment to our youth, especially those who have been overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood, is the kind of leadership our communities need now more than ever. On behalf of America in Black and White, thank you for your work, your vision, and your unwavering belief in the brilliance of our children. Family, I need you all to remember this. When we reimagine education, we reimagine the future. Good night and stay inspired and keep pushing for the world our children deserve. I want to thank you all for watching. And for those of you that are watching on all of our networks that we're actually broadcasting live on, especially YouTube, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I ask if you will please support us.
Yeah.
And please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications. Therefore, you get the shows live, and you're also able to go back and watch all of our previous recordings that our guests have left all of these great lessons for us all to learn from. Thank you all and have a great night, and join us again tomorrow night on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I'm your host, Charles King.